You're muted, Carl. We can't hear you.
Hopefully that's better. Great. Thanks for that. Another solid week of progress. Some weeks are more productive than others. This week was pretty productive. On the uMoon front, the updates for that were extreme. The iOS and Android apps, they're probably approaching, I would say, in totality, probably right around halfway, right? So the key part was to get the foundational items in those apps done. So all the major components have been touched. We've got code bases for both iOS and Android. We've got a backend service platform that's been created, and we've got an admin interface on the back end as well for the platform admins to monitor settings and configurations and things of that nature. And right now the teams are focused on kind of iterating and building out those modules. Basically, this past week, the authentication module is getting wrapped up, or the post module, feed module, all of the things. Again, we're bringing that familiar kind of social network experience. So all those different modules that are part of IG, part of TikTok, we're getting represented over there. From a UX standpoint, NFT and wallet screens, we're making some modifications to those. One of the big things, we actually had a conversation this morning around the wallet workflow. A lot of traditional crypto wallets deal primarily in you send to wallet addresses, you receive from wallet addresses. And one of the things that came up this morning was, one of our mantras is a familiar social media experience for users. That's really challenging, even with QR codes, right? Crypto users in Web3 and Web3 natives are used to exchanging QR codes. If you have two uMoon users right next to each other and you want to, send tokens to each other for whatever reason, right? You had a great video, whatever, right? Usually one person's a sender, one's a receiver, one shows a QR code, the other person takes their camera and blasts it, and that represents the hexadecimal address of the wallet that uniquely identifies that user. In a lot of Web2 social media, you have contact lists, right? You have handles, you have at tags, you have things like this. So, I was talking with one of the mobile dev leads this morning, and we're discussing it, and we don't have that design detail answered yet. We're going through that process. We're trying to figure out what is the simplest, and most powerful implementation for the user community. When we saw the screen mocks that have contact lists on them, I kind of personally took a step back, because that's foreign in a lot of ways to anonymity in Web3, self-sovereignty in Web3, et cetera. But on the other hand, it makes it very easy to use. If the user, if the user has a user profile and they're able to publish their public wallet address, that's great. Do all users want to do that? Do you want to associate a handle with a wallet address, right? These are questions we don't have answered yet, right? MVP will have an implementation to make sure this workflow works really well. But these are the types of things we're getting into the stage of the project where these are kind of like the things we hope to innovate on and make easier for the traditional Web2 user community to gain access into Web3. So, again, a lot of these it's not a philosophical conversation, it's really usability. But we want to, respect, users' control and their privacy as well. So aside from technical implementation, some of these questions are getting revisited. So, it's an interesting time. These are the things that are going to end up differentiating our implementation from a lot of other ones out there. What we all agree on is there is no reference implementation out there. In Web3, when you're exchanging wallet information, it's copy and paste. It's share QR codes. It's kludgy, right? In the old world, you can send a PayPal payment request and you have a nice link in somebody's email. Now there's a lot of things that, kind of share analytics information, et cetera, when you're sending, embedded links through emails and payment requests and things like that. We're trying to find a balance here. We want to avoid a lot of that, right? But at the same time, make it very easy for users where they don't have to, as a first option, copy a hexadecimal wallet address and send it to somebody else in WhatsApp or TG or SMS. Like, we're trying to get away from that, right? So that's where we're at on the mobile app side. On the data science side, you guys may have seen it briefly. I'll bring it up here. Hopefully you guys can see that. So it's our draft data schema. So this is an ERD for the technologists out there. We're actually at the point where this is, a confluence of the media object model and the user model, right? We're referencing different objects off chain, obviously. But one thing that we don't have in here that we talked about yesterday adding in is how we bring advertisers into it, because we recognize advertisers, we want to be able to identify them as a different type of actor in the ecosystem, right? They're not a user. They're more than a user. They're a different type of actor, right? They should have different type of rules. They have a different type of engagement. But we recognize that advertisers that come in with a specific message, they're not just a normal account. They're not just a verified account. They're something else, and they need to be treated differently, right? Especially when we talk about kind of engagement scoring and the social activity coefficient. Their calculations different, right? And some calculations are excluded from some. They're, some of their interactions are going to go into what we're calling the SAC multiplier, which is kind of what is multiplied against somebody's kind of activity score. So we continue to kind of iterate on this from a pipeline standpoint. Where pipeline's built out, we're still iterating on it, and we're still making some additions to it. We've got our anonymous rockstar data science. He's using Faker and Postgres basically to simulate data, along with SQL Alchemy that'll get integrated into the Kubeflow pipeline. The interesting thing too is that we found some packages out there that actually use live Twitter data, right? So live Twitter posts basically to feed in different social engagement models. So we're experimenting with actual, not just simulated data, but we're experimenting with live Twitter data as well, based on people's posts and their social graphs and their networks based on those posts. How many likes they get, how many retweets, et cetera, right? So, it's some interesting stuff coming there. Let's see, I think that's about it. NFT Marketplace is integrating with the uMoon backend services right now. That I'm hoping that'll be wrapped up by the end of next week. So once that's done, then we've really got the last remaining piece is kind of the L1 contracts. The L1 contracts, we've got some drafts of the initial social activity coefficient smart contracts. We've got some developers right now are working on test clients for them. We will be implementing an Oracle pattern, which is a little challenging in blockchains in general because the data, you've heard me talk about it before, the data is already stale. You have to have a trusted third party, et cetera. So we're going to get a little creative there. We're going to have some test clients, push some data onto the DevNet and do some analysis. But yeah, things are fast and furious. It was a great week. If you guys have questions, I know one of the questions we saw recently is, can we get some quality screenshots? I believe the Figmas were available in read-only mode. And I think we had a demo, the Figma kind of click-through was available as well. We'll make sure those get reposted to the TG group. They're in the history somewhere. So that material should already be out there. If you guys have any further questions, please feel free to ask. Over the next probably 6 weeks, 7 weeks, we're really going to dive into not just L1 development and the integration of all these parts, but the tokenomics model, right? What it means to, what social activity means. We've got a kind of high level algorithm right now. It's all pseudocode. It's very high level. We've got it separated up into 5 core activities right now. If somebody likes something, they comment, they share, they download, or they submit a post to the network, right? Each one of those is weighted differently. If you create content and you post to the network, obviously that's weighted highest out of all of those. And then based on the popularity of that content, there's going to be the multiplier applied. So what we call the SAC multiplier. But that algorithm, we'll publish it. It'll be in the white paper, draft form probably coming out in March. So look for it. If you guys have thoughts or discussion around it, we look to the TG channel. Other than that, everybody, I hope, has a great week, and stay safe, everyone. Take care.